Man, if I'm learning anything from life right now, all these U-Hauls. If I'm learning anything, bro, slow the fuck down. I made a video the other day about how, like, life, I was saying it jokingly, but it's real. When I realized, like, how much I'm learning to build from the ground up, like, life will have you going through that process of building from the ground up. Like, real talk, like, ground up. Like on some, probably when y'all see this video, I don't know when, but the ground up to you sitting still and recognizing, like, what you need to focus on. Oh my God, bro, my body never looked like this ever. Like, that's how lighter I was in a way. And my face has been getting more sun. This shit look weird as shit. But anyway, like I was saying, like, life been showing me, like, how to really slow down. Like, I do. And, that's what I wanted to get into. I'm probably going to finish this in the study room, but I'm really getting a lot of this sun. Because I just walked through the park. I got to do my introduction. Let's give honor to source, to the creator, the most high, the ancestors known and unknown, for the highest good of all. Shout out to you too. But anywho, I just walked to a park. Beautiful day, spring day, perfect weather. Nobody at the park. I get it, but kids is just different. Generation is different, but it also showing me to slow down because it's showing me where people's focus is. So that's what I was going to get into, even more so, talking about, like, I had got clarity over something, and it was saying how, basically, if you feel burdensome right now, the best thing that I've learned through this situation, or through feeling like a lot of things I was carrying, like carrying other people's responsibilities, or like just basically what overgiving can do, or overcompensating, it's like sometimes you can be taking on more than what you want, and so forth. I'm gonna actually sit right here on this bench, because who's gonna check? So life can be asking you in a way where you feel like burdensome to, like, it's just like right now I'm gonna sit down, right? But I got my bag on. Sometimes you have to lighten your load by doing the simplest thing. Taking it off. You still have it, but now telling yourself, like, how can you adjust? Making, adjustments in life and so forth. So, that's my thing. Like I said, whoever right now is feeling burdensome in life, sometimes life is just asking you to just approach it differently. I had to do that a lot with my art, because it used to become very frustrating trying to do so many things by myself. But it wasn't so much about myself. I had to actually learn how to actually, in the giving, I had to be open to receive, because, again, overcompensating is this. But then when someone is willing to give to you, you're like this because you're so used to doing this. So that right there becomes burdensome, because it can be very heavy, because you're wanting to carry everyone else's load, or show up for them and forget about yourself. So I'm telling you all the time, or lately, since I've been more aware of who I am from an emotional space and practical and balance between head and heart, that's an important thing, because the head will tell you one thing when you feel like, oh, well, I'm just listening to my logic. But at the same time, your heart could be asking you to show up for yourself, meaning like love yourself more, show up more, and so forth, rather than just thinking that you continuously have to overgive or overextend yourself. that's how a lot of you don't realize like how you're carrying burdens and more responsibilities for others, rather than like just by you showing up so much, it's like you're showing up for their responsibilities more than your own. That's what I needed to say. I had to learn that over time, because I had to recognize what type of season I was in. Even in my life, I had to recognize like, okay, this is where I'm at. I don't have to do these things right now. I don't have to put more on me than what's asked of me. Now, it's different where when you are aligned with the divine, like what's asked of you from other people, we know that that'll never stop. Like that'll never stop. But this is where I talk about one of my previous videos, like you have to be aware and confident enough to say, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm tired right now. And that's okay, because it will become burdensome. So now in your solitude, or in you learning more about who you are, you begin to realize like you allow people to show up for themselves and be responsible for themselves. You realize like it's a part of letting them down to realize and come to the actualization that it's important for them to actually face these things on their own. I had to learn that. When I was frustrated with a lot of things, when I didn't want to do it on my own, I had to learn how like, well, maybe I need some support. So I had to get out of my comfort zone. Some things are to teach people that they have to be placed in their comfort zone just because they have to learn something for themselves. Because it's just like a child growing up. If you don't let them learn certain things, they'll naturally develop a codependency. Now, depending on their age, they naturally have a dependency. But what becomes burdensome into adult age and later on is how people still carry that codependency into what they need to know, what they need to learn is be more independent, or rely on their interdependence. Now, when there's not a healthy balance where you have head over heart or just a healthy aspect to life, again, people will just assume or feel entitled that you have to do certain things. Such as like, you can come into, let's say, a windfall of money. We're just going to use that as an example. It is not your responsibility to go out there and just, oh, I got to help everybody. And then leave your cup dry, or leave your pockets and some people actually think, oh, I feel good, I got to go do. But you have responsibilities to yourself. I guess that must be a sign of some of you needing to hear, because burdens becomes you become burnt out, and then that affects your health. So a lot of things I am sharing is related to mental health, emotional health. All those things are very vital when it comes to you letting go, and less is going to be more. I've seen that even with, again, how people live. Your way of living is not the same as somebody else. So that means your responsibilities are not the same. Your way of life is not the same. The way you approach things. I was sitting here reflecting, telling someone even today who was a boomer, or who was at an age that lived in the South, and, you know, telling me how much they used to travel, then certain things happened, and all of a sudden, you know, how the housing market is, and how so many things has shown me as I slowed down and became more aware. I became aware of, if I want to use the term, glitches, or I became more aware of what most people don't see because they're going. And a lot of these transits are revealing that, like, Aries energy is like people associated with aggression and fast movement, but in reality, a lot of it is a part of initiation, because when you're seeing the old world crumble, an old world narrative, belief system, and so forth, then there's something that you must observe or see that you are initiating that will most likely be unfamiliar to a lot of people. Meaning, like, again, if you came into a windfall of money or something happened, your way of life may be completely different than someone else. I already have plans and things like in alignment when it comes to how I'm going to live my life. I looked across at a house. Looked across at someone's house, and that pretty much confirms it, because they have something that I already know I'm going to have or obtain soon, just because it brings me more balance and peace. And like I said, for some people's world, when I look at the house, when I look at what people going through in the housing and so forth, bro, It's so stressful. The realtors will never tell you that. The contractors will never tell you that. But a lot of things that it's like, I don't know why I would like to say the underbelly, but what's beneath the surface right now, people are not talking about. It's like a solid panic. Like I'm telling you, like folks don't know what they're gonna do when the monetary system is changing. It's digital now. When people used to have to go get money orders, some people still do it, but some people, you know, so many things are shifting now to where it literally is like making people like, you know, it can make them not so much crazy, but be at such an unease to where they don't know how to respond or know how to react to it, or they will react, but just something that they've been keeping in for so long. That's why I say like going slower now is revealing a lot to me. Like I listen to my body more than ever, like truly more than ever than I ever used to. And it's not because of age, it's because I choose to. It's because I tell myself like, there's more to experience when I'm not sitting here trying to prove anything. Let me get this awareness. Let me see what's going on. Let me tell myself like, oh, maybe I don't need to be, maybe try to focus on trying to not so much cut corners, but there's something else I need to get a understanding and overstanding of that maybe I might have missed this time around, or something that I thought I overlooked. Oh, I needed to see that. I needed to observe that. I needed to catch that. I actually can go this way. So a lot of things like we just assume that we're supposed to have at that certain moment. And I'm telling you, slowing down. Divine intervention even is when things happen to your health and so forth. That's divine intervention. That's your body signaling to you like, hey, something's going on. You're stressing, or you're worried, or you this and you that. Like I said before, I was telling someone in another video, I didn't even know what hemorrhoids were. But I started to put the pieces together when I realized, like at a point in my life, probably about a year and a half, 2 years, almost 2 years ago, I was undergoing so much pressure around just like re-entering my daughter's life. So I think that had to been over a little 2 years ago. But just the pressure around entering her life and a whole bunch of other things to where I was like, yo, I didn't really, I did what I felt was best was, you know, go work out, you know, put my mind on other things. But I realized also too that I had so much that I was I felt like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders because of connecting with her mom, and so much going on to where I had to tell myself like, I have to have this together. But what I recognize what happens with a lot of people through the human experience is when they don't slow down and they don't listen to their body and so forth. When they don't listen to their body, hold on one moment. When they don't listen to their body and stuff like that, it's like they're just literally preparing for like basically their body gonna tell them. But for me, during that moment, I had the energy to do a lot of things, but I had so much unprocessed emotion, so much emotions around just the situation to where now I realize how I lighten my load and approach it differently with being responsible now for myself more rather than trying to take on more. So being burdened with a lot of things is not so much of a horrible experience. It's more so how you like manage those things. How are you responsible with all these things where it can seem like so many things are happening at one time? What am I going to do? How am I going to focus? What do I, where I need to put my focus at and so forth. And then asking yourself again, okay, it really does become lighter because you ask yourself, I don't have to give so much of my emotions or take on what other people do. I don't have to do these things. This is coming from something more external. This is coming from people trying to tell me, well, this is how you're supposed to do this. This is how you're supposed to do this. But you don't have to. That's the thing about free will. That's the thing about also standing firm in your boundaries and so forth. Certain things can become overwhelming for a lot of people simply because either due to mismanagement, certain things that it's not so much you're not ready for, it's the fact of, again, when you slow down and realize, like, I can go at this at my own pace. And that's one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, is I start to realize, like, I don't have to go at anyone's pace but my own. It just reminded me, like, one of the greatest things you can ever do is breathe and listen to your heartbeat. That's your own rhythm. I had to remind myself in that moment, because one of my elders told me years ago, like, one of the best things you can ever do is remind yourself to breathe. Because breathing will bring you back to the present. You don't have to just try to force things all the time. You don't have to feel like you have to be here, you have to do this, you have to do that. Because again, you'll overextend yourself. And me, I realized, like, I've had the luxury of watching people do that. It sounds crazy, but I'm sure they had too as well. But that was through growth and maturity. I had the luxury of watching people, and still do now, who still, no matter what is going on, in their panic, in their frustration, they just assume, like, oh, I gotta be there, I gotta do this. No, I'm gonna tell you what's very vital in your life and whoever it is. It's very important that you have a person who is grounded no matter what. Who is grounded emotionally, because emotionally it's important, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. And this is where we can all learn from each other. In my slowing down, I would have never known how to see someone who knew how to manage finances, who knew how to be responsible with certain stuff like that. And the reason I needed to see that, because with the life that I'm living and coming into, or what I'm already living, is to get those signs that, okay, if you're having these goals, if you want to do this, if you're wanting this life that you say you desire, okay, then there's going to be an approach to life where you have to be more present. And being present will show you to slow down, not to go at no one else's pace. Like I say, you could come into something and people will just assume you have to rush out and be under the pressure of doing this, doing that. And again, you'll end up right back in a similar situation and so forth, because those are the people, I will say, that will help you lose something faster than you gained it. You know where I'm getting at with that. So what I'm saying is, it's very important to have people in your life that are grounded, that are stable, and that will remind you, slow down. You don't have to make this decision right now. Notice how you have some people in your life, they'll be quick to go out there. If you come into something, I remember times where when I was younger, got a new vehicle. Like I said, anything pertaining to money, you put in some work for something, and now you're reaping the harvest and preparing for something. They don't see the responsibility that comes with that, because they didn't put in the effort. They didn't slow down enough. That's who you got to be discerning and weed out, because they're weeds. That doesn't mean like they still serve you good in a way of like reminder, but there's still a way of discipline. That's what some want you to forget. There's still a discipline to all of this stuff. And kids will remind you, being around kids, even if you don't have them, they'll teach you how to slow down. Because we all know they go. But they teach me how to slow down and be present. They teach me how to be mindful and all those things in my approach, in my way of life. And again, seeing everything that's happening through these major transitions of life, of people living life, leaving, like transitioning out of life. It's so many different things that was happening to where Can you be aware and sit down and recognize what's really going on? Because seeing people leave this world, for one, reminds me, let me enjoy this shit the best way I know how, to the fullest. With or without the money right now, can I make the best of it? Just like I told myself, I'm having this moment to myself, I can create some content. I can make a message and so forth. Then I also can expand on what I'm doing. So that's one accomplishment. Then I also can move forward and still remind my own self, take my own advice, and go live life after this. And do what I feel is best. One moment. So yeah, as I was saying, like, even the fact of like the kids aspect, I took my son on a walk, and things come up for me, like, if you've been watching me, like, things come up with the fact of, like, so for y'all that don't know, just a little personal thing. I didn't speak for my dad for a while, and it's simply because, like, I'm trying to process a lot of being present and showing up for my well-being, and my well-being has a lot to do with, which I'm realizing now, I talk about the mother wound, but I realize, like, now the father wound has a lot to do with, I call it the father wound, but the absence in itself of a father really has allowed me to find a balanced aspect of the responsibility in life and how to cherish it. When I'm out with my son now, I'm realizing the bond, the connection, emotionally, mentally, and so forth. Pushing him in a stroller, it's like I naturally get this euphoria. I naturally also feel the healing. It's almost like it's happening from past, present, and future, because I cannot not be there for myself and my son, because I immediately am reminded of how the role of my father and what he did, the dad that I had. It's like, so me trying to connect with him, and he's like this push-pull, because I can feel him almost like wanting to connect more. But it's a reminder that how much I still have to show up presently. And this, again, it's like it's talking to him. It's like for some of y'all who, I don't know if you're going through something similar, if you had an absent father, but from a man perspective, and then my inner child healing that's happening, it's something that you really cannot force or put into words. I know you want so much of the person to be there. You all have your own lived experiences, but I realize, like, I have to also manage and focus on the fact that my son isn't so much of a replacement. Because if I look at it that way, I'll look at it like that I feel like I have to resent what my father didn't do, and this is my replacement. I more so look at it like a continuance of the fact of, you made your decisions, now I have my own sovereignty, or it's my birthright now to continue something completely different. And with that comes a responsibility, comes the awareness of slowing down and really being present with him. And just in moments where I'm changing his diapers, playing with him, he grabs my hand. I never had that with a father. Even with the man that was dating my mom, he was abusive. So even with that, I've had to forgive, not forget, but I more so had to forgive and accept that these were the characters and people in my life to give me more, to encourage me more to show up for myself, to love on myself, to make room, to rest more. Even more so with slowing down has allowed me to do what seems valuable to me. Because again, when you look at people's life and how they went about it, they felt like that was more valuable. And I wasn't there to know, like, they had to show up and do this and so forth. I can say it's an excuse, but then again, I can also say, which I've had a discussion with my dad, is that I felt you could have done more to be present. And I realized like I'm countering all of that in a different way, because simply if you knew that you couldn't get along with my mother, or however the circumstances were and everything that happened with that, it could be, I feel like things could be different to make an effort to stay near or be around. But I got his side, of course. But again, and it's still, even after 30 years of hearing his side, I still have to recognize the pattern of like what he did with, I have a sister that's by him. And again, similar patterns, not exactly how it is, but similar patterns to where this is something, I talked about this, like the patterns where people have patterns, they don't recognize how much it affects them and everyone involved. So with my sister, when I talked to her, she has went through something tremendously where she has ended up in a wheelchair, had a baby younger than I was, I think she had a baby around 18, 19. But either way, it's the pattern of the fact of we need to realize, like, with slowing down, there's something to see. Something to see that as much as you think is not important to you, it's very vital to someone involved. So that has really allowed me to even recognize and even process the things that, again, I feel like we inherited through our mothers and fathers intergenerationally. And I'm so much more in a calmer state because of the acceptance, the more so delayed grief of now allowing myself more time to navigate through what I felt like wasn't a big issue, or the emotions around those very things. So even with slowing down, like just being an artist and co-creator, I saw a post earlier, it was like, it won't make sense. Let me see what time it is. Okay, yeah. It won't make sense to people as an artist on paper. Like, it won't make sense on paper, because it's like, even my journal, when I write stuff, I write it sideways, I'm writing here, and only I know, because how my mind operates, how I am, creative like that, I will be able to bring up things and remember and so forth. I may draw something to remind myself, but either way, it was just a way of like keep going in the message, because it was reminding us as artists and, people that are creative, to realize like you still have to keep going, because your life most likely won't make sense to a lot of people, if not all. So that's a whole nother scenario, even with the fact of like now seeing my dad being, friends on Facebook or whatever. And that's kind of like our connection. This is just my way of approaching things, because I'm very adamant on who has access to me. And he gave me his number, but I'm at a place where, again, I'm navigating through things the best way I know how. So I don't have to carry, like I told you, that burden. It's easier for me to lighten my load knowing that I don't have to know someone's number, or I don't have to do things the way they want me to, because that bridge, that allowing people access, that building on things, like, that's the slow process of consistency, reciprocity. If you can go years without something, it just lets me know, like, I wasn't a priority, to remind me I'm a priority now. I have to prioritize my well-being. And if it's keeping whomever at distance, at bay, and so forth, so that I can show up better for me and those that are connected to me, then so be it. Because that's vital, that's important for me. And so that's just something that allows me to stay more grounded in my emotions, grounded in my approach, how I initiate things, and so forth. Because some people want you to stop everything and show up for them. That's unrealistic. And it's not fair to yourself. So in these learning these things and being more grounded, I'm noticing in my truth, in my authenticity and so forth, it's like it really forces people to adjust to your program or to your, if you have a strict program, it forces people to just adjust, to where at a time what you did, you felt like you were the main character. In my world, it's like, this is my movie, this is my show. But at the same time, it's not to devalue people, to make them feel less. It's more so me reminding myself, like, you had to go through this experience. You had to see it for what it is. Now you're an adult. Because again, when people were at that age and they had a responsibility to kids, they chose that. Now I know what I'm choosing. That's the beauty of just sitting back, being an observer. And I'm like, okay, all right. So people can assume that it can be resentment as you start to shift and change. No, they don't determine your inner compass on how you value and what you value. They're gonna feel what they're gonna feel. They're gonna assume what they want to assume, and that's okay. That's not your priority to convince them otherwise. So slowing down has been one of the greatest things that I've ever done. And I'm gonna continue to do it, to stay more present, to stay more grounded, to move accordingly, whatever keeps me in balance and not keep me at a state of imbalance. And then I've noticed how even that has changed tremendously with the people I've had in my life, the new people arriving and so forth, the mindfulness around that. So slow your ass down. Peace and blessings. Shalom.